let's talk about Jill Stein, particularly the questions that I asked her today. And the reason I asked these questions was, one, because I've already said it. I'll say it again. I'm voting for Jill Stein. All right. Because I have too many things that I disagree with Hillary Clinton on. And I'm in a safe state, so I can afford to vote my conscience and not worry about it. It's a safe state. So I'm voting for Jill Stein. And if I get polled, I'm going to tell them I'm voting for Jill Stein, because more importantly than trying to get Jill Stein to win is to get Jill Stein and Gary Johnson on that debate stage. We need 4 candidates on that debate stage. And the reason we need them on the debate stage is because we need them to answer some questions and tell us, particularly Jill Stein, if she's going to be the beneficiary of all of the progressive votes, if she's going to be the beneficiary of all the black left and all the black radical class, then we need to hear some answers on some particular questions, specifically on the issues that divide us from the regular Democrats, the corporate wing of the Democratic Party. Because, I thought about it, and do I have that clip? Let me see if I still have that clip in here, because it's worth pulling up for this context.
That's what we're going to do. Thank you so much.
Dr. Stein, why should African Americans support the Green Party and your platform?
Because we are standing up for racial justice, for economic justice. We are calling for a transformation to demilitarize the culture of policing. We're calling for a truth and reconciliation commission to get to the bottom of this crisis, the legacy of slavery, which is still causing racist violence in all sectors of society. And we call for reparations, we call for legalizing marijuana and treating substance use as a health problem, not a criminal problem, and pardoning all the hundreds of thousands of wrongly incarcerated.
While she was marching in the protests, and I asked her why she should be, get the African American vote, and she went down a litany of things, and every one of them, boom, sound good. She's going to oppose white supremacy, boom. We're going to tear down the inequity in the communities, and boom, we're going to address the systemic problems of X, Y, and Z, boom. She said, I'm going to support reparations, boom. Check, 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 check. Damn it, it made me feel good. Jill Stein, everybody. And the problem is we cannot be satisfied with someone just saying they're going to do A through Z just because we agree 100% A through Z. The next question we have to ask is, how are you going to get it done? And more importantly, how are you going to get it done when you cannot do it in isolation? You cannot do it by yourself. You cannot do it with the help of Congress. So one of the questions I asked Jill Stein is how are you going to enact reparations or pass reparations with an intransigent Congress? How are you going to do it if you can't get the support of Congress? Because otherwise, if she doesn't have an answer to that question, then she's just telling us what we want to hear. No matter how much she really believes it, if it's not something that she has a plan to get done, then it's just telling us something that we want to hear. And how then are we any better for accepting Jill Stein for saying things that we want to hear than all of the Hillary Clinton supporters who accept Hillary Clinton for saying the things that they want to hear? I don't understand why they want to hear it, but there's stuff that they want to hear. So they just accept Hillary Clinton, and we're just as bad as Donald Trump supporters who just accept Donald Trump for whatever he says. I don't understand why they support what he says, but they do. They love it and they eat it up. So if we're going to set this standard, we really have to ask the harder questions of how are you going to get it done? Here's the next question that I really want answered from Jill Stein, right? One of the biggest complaints about President Obama is his incessant drone usage. Droning in general, but the quote unquote accidental droning and killing of civilians. And more specifically, children who have been killed by this Obama administration and their policy on drones. Here's the question. If you oppose droning and you're for ending droning, we have to ask the question, under what scenario could you order a drone strike? Because if somebody answers that question and say, under no circumstances will they ever order a drone strike, it's not very likely that they have thought this thing through all the way. Because there is, and this ultimately leads to the comment that I don't think we want to hear, or we don't want to dissect at a meaningful level. The reality of it is there is a tension, there is a conflict between our national interest and our progressivism. Because at a certain point, yes, we can stop droning so much. Yes, we need to be more accurate with our droning. Yes, we need to make sure that we're not killing civilians, all those things. But if we're going to say that we're going to not drone at all, then we've got to answer all of those national security questions that arise. Because one of your jobs as the President of the United States is to protect and defend the Constitution, as well as the citizens and the national security, the security of our nation. And you cannot tell me that no matter how progressive you are, if you're sitting in the briefing room, in the situation room, and they're telling you that this cell of ISIS is directly responsible, or they are planning an attack on U.S. soil, and that they are prepared to execute it, and we have only one opportunity, Mr. President, Madam President, to take them out, and we need to use drones. If you tell me that you will not strike at that moment, then I tell you, you're not ready to be the President of the United States. Now, you can give all the caveats. You can say you need more information. You need guarantees. You need assurances. You need percentage chance of it being civilians versus the percentage chance that it's absolutely ISIS. You can fill all the caveats in the world in the room. I am on board with that. But you cannot tell me that under no circumstances would you ever use drones or military force. Because here's the other bad news. We don't live in a world where we can not use some measure of military force. Does this mean, Ben, that you support empire abroad? Does this mean that you support the military industrial complex? Does this mean that you support imperialism and militarism and support neoconservative hawkish foreign policies? No. And if you come to me with a false equivalency, or you come to me with a false dichotomy, then I'm liable to clap back real quick. Because it is not a black and white binary switch. Because unless you're saying to us progressives, and I'm talking to my progressives brothers and sisters tonight, if you're saying to us that you feel that we can have the security that we need to exist without the constant threat of death, without military force, then I would tell you, you don't know how the world works. Is America a bad actor in most of our interactions in the international community? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I'll be the first one to tell you that. Yeah, absolutely. Are there plenty of other bad actors who would ravage the United States if we just did away with the military or cut the military by 90%? Abso-damn-lutely. And to think otherwise is either not thinking it through, or it is wishful thinking. So the question has to be asked of a progressive candidate. Under what circumstances would you use military force, and under what circumstances would you use droning? And we need some really good answers, because the answer can't be to continue the same paradigm, but the answer also cannot be we're not going to ever use it ever. Other question that we have to ask our progressive candidates is, how are they going to specifically end oligarchy? Because it is a word, and not only oligarchy, but neoliberalism. Those are two catchphrases that we use every damn day. And I've yet to hear a concrete plan of how, from Bernie Sanders either, on how we are going to end structural oligarchy, because you're getting our votes based on the fact that you oppose oligarchy. Yet, how are we going to end and dismantle oligarchy? And more specifically, how are you going to get it done within the framework of the office of the presidency, when the office of the presidency has been designed to serve the oligarchy? I feel my help tonight. I feel like I need somebody to say amen out there, because that's the real question, right? How are you going to dismantle the military industrial complex and create a military force that's strong enough to keep and maintain our security without expanding empire, when the office of the presidency has been designed to serve empire and the military industrial complex? Because if you don't have a plan to fix these things within the context of the office of the presidency, then you are going to be eaten alive by the office of the presidency, just like Barack Obama was. You think Barack Obama, and this is what you reduce it down to. It's hot up in this mug. The lights are beaming. We reduce it down to so many times that President Obama is just a bad man. He's just immoral. He's not progressive, because if he was progressive, he wouldn't do these things. And he's evil. President Obama is a slave to the military industrial complex. President Obama is a slave to oligarchy, right? We reduce it down to that, instead of realizing that President Obama could have and probably did go into there with all of the best intentions, but did not understand the magnitude of forces, the behemoth-sized forces that compel the office of the presidency to conform and support and serve oligarchy and the military-industrial complex, capitalism, neoliberalism, and the expansion of empire abroad. Because if you reduce it down to just he's not a good man, then you're going to always be looking for somebody who's a good person, and then you're going to put in somebody else who is not prepared to confront the realities of the forces that compel the office of the presidency. So the question we must ask is, in this global system, all right, we already talked about the military industrial complex, but in this oligarchical system, right, this oligarchy that serves the top 1%, what are you possibly going to do in the framework of the presidency when the presidency has been designed to serve the top 1%? And when you're working with an intransigent Congress who are also there to serve the top 1%, what is your game plan? Because if you have your game plan and you have been able to think of one, you deserve my vote. You deserve me stomping, because you're a better man than me. You're a better woman than me. I can't think of how to accomplish it. So if you have that solution, I would wear your T-shirt on this show every single day for the next 100 days.